uh, and didn't quite, for all right reasons, all right effort, wasn't quite time, but it is time now. So if you haven't signed up, please go and do so. We're thinking we could hold up to 20 or thereabouts in right spacing. So please join. Friday and Saturday. We have some people coming just Friday, some people coming just Saturday, some people coming both. It all works. For some people, particularly the mindful graduates of this winter MBSR 8-week class that we just finished yesterday, congratulations to all those who completed that course on Zoom. It was actually great fun. I really am shocked by how mindfulness translates across screens. Really, it's amazing and stunning. The Dharma is everywhere, and we can feel it, and I love that. So there's that. So let's switch gears if we don't have any questions about that. I don't think so, and if we do, we can catch those later. What I'd like to do is talk today about the third pillar, the third principle of awakening. We got onto this because the last exquisite risk talk that I did was the exquisite risk of awakening. And some might say, well, what's the risk with that? Isn't that perfection? Isn't that just where we all want to be? And though the answer to that might be yes, the view, the meditation, the practice, the effort, right effort, which we talked a little bit about last week, and now moving into right action is not always so easy. It is, in fact, against, at times, the brainstem's preferencing. It isn't consistent with our opinion, by the way. It doesn't mean you get to go, well, that's just how I am and who I am, because at first it isn't true. And then we just don't get to rest on our laurels, as we say in these teachings. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit from a couple sides about this right or wise action. And what we have established so far in the last 2 weeks is that without a clear view of the preciousness of human life, a clear view of the interconnectedness of all things, a clear view of the essential emptiness of these ideas of self, the emptiness, just pure narrative, and all that comes with that. Until we really start to get that understanding, clear seeing, one would say, that's our mindfulness practice. That's what it's ultimately designed for. Then we can't begin to take essential, skillful actions. We talked then last week about meditation as the second pillar of awakening. And meditation in a couple senses, we'll talk about it more today. There's, of course, the practical, the real, the relative, the on the ground stuff that we deal with as human beings in the practice. Meditation, how to get there, how often to get there, how to be skillful when we're there. That's all relevant, relative realities. And then there's how do we translate that, those moments of practice, those moments of awakening, how do we translate that into our everyday real life? That's why I named my own professional service group, Everyday Mindfulness. Because really just the meditation, though it may be comforting, though it may offer refuge, and all those are beautiful things, without taking that off the cushion into everyday life, it is insufficient. It may even offer you a little relief, and that's really lovely, but that's not actually the point of the practice, though it is of benefit, and I'm happy for that, for me and for you, and it is true. It's not really the whole point at all. And so today we're going to talk about really what is action and what is actionable and how do we find our way to that over and over. And I'm going to throw the word out synchronicity because it's happened to me several times this week in very touching and moving ways for me, where the right intention that I was holding with no idea truly how that might manifest, with no, I've got a solution, there's a way, not at all. In fact, quite the opposite. There was a lot of open space around this. How it manifested in really amazing, what feel then like organic, dynamic, effortless ways. And it brought me to tears several times, like, wow, right. This, yes, it is here. The Dharma is alive right now. I only needed to do my good early work and bring a certain kind of confidence, faith, trust in it, and watch how it unfolded with all the other conditions into like just this arising and the right action so clear, so pristine, and the consequences of that, of course, then so beneficial, like beyond, like, how did I get here? How did I get here? And not only seeing it once it became somewhat more tangible. So I thought we would start with Mary Oliver and then a little piece by Rumi. And so this idea of right view or right intention, leading naturally, effortlessly, correctly, wisely to right meditation, someone could say, one of the Eightfold Noble Path, by the way, right meditation, right effort, one of the pillars of awakening also, right disciplines. These things all start to come together in ways we don't always see clearly at the time, but we can feel it's wise or skillful or loving or truth in it. And then from that, and those two being the base, what we can have some essential confidence and faith in is that the result, the action, the actionable, the response, we could say, will reveal itself. Even when you're going, I don't see it. I don't have any idea. This just all feels confusing. Well, it's because we're looking out at where is the evidence out there, and we're not clarifying, we're not stabilizing, we're not stilling this right here. We're going to look at that today. Okay, let me get this out of the way as best I can. Thank you all for being here this morning. I always love seeing all of you. I'm going to try to get the chat out of my middle of my page because I can't read the poem. Let me try this another way. Thank you. There it goes. I love the toolbox and I hate it. It's a very ambivalent relationship because there it is when I need it and there it isn't when I don't. Here we are. So this is the poem called The Deer. Most of you, not likely, though some of you, of course, who have done some study of Mary Oliver, one of the most mindful poetess I know. So you're just feeling, be watchful of the looking for meaning, not so helpful. See what she's looking at. See the lens through which she's looking at this. This is a really beautiful example, once again, for me, of right view. And out of right view, a clarity arising and emerging that she holds always at the end. So perfectly natural, so effortlessly, like, and then that's true. This is just what comes from seeing a deer. So let's read it. And you can prepare to sit, just get yourself settled. You never know. The body of night opens like a river. It drifts upward like white smoke. like so many wrappings of mist. And on the hillside, two deer are walking along, just as though this wasn't the owned, tilled earth of today, but the past. I did not see them the next day or the next, but in my mind's eye, there they are, in the long grass, like two sisters. This is earnest work. Each of us is given only so many mornings to do it, to look around and love the oily fur of our lives, the hoof and the grass-stained muzzle. Days I don't do this, I feel the terror of idleness like a red thirst. Death isn't just an idea. When we die, the body breaks open like a river. The old body goes on, climbing the hill. When we die, the body breaks open like a river. The old body goes on, climbing the hill. Mary Oliver. I'm going to see if I can find that little piece by Rumi, who speaks in very many ways to the same thing. And so I'll offer it to you as a holding of these two perspectives and the sameness. The baby hawk stands on the edge of its nest all day, then hears a whistle. Come to me, come to me. How could you not fly toward that? A letter arrives that says, you flapped your wings and fluttered against limits long enough. You've been a bird without wings, in a house without doors or windows. Compassion builds a door. Courage cuts the key. Courage, do we have it to show up to what's right here, to see that it was the perfect offering, this life, this moment, this body, just like this. Let's see if we can't drop in with that fearlessness, with that natural bravery, with that openness. That's where the bravery comes from, opening and then opening and then opening some more. This is the path to true happiness and freedom, the path to awakening. So I'm going to stop this for just a little while as we prepare to sit. The courage it takes to be in this life. There it is. So taking a big in-breath, giving yourself a little flak jacket of breath. And then we take it off, don't we? With each out breath, we dissolve, release that armor. Dropping into your life by dropping the weapons of self-making. Believing you have to think it through. You have to have the plan. You've got to find the way. You've got to get the steps. This is not the way that Mary Oliver and Rumi offer. What do they say? Show up to the oily fur of your own skin. Be right here. And then we support the intentions for this practice, the aspirations for this practice, by calling to mind someone we love, someone in need. Remembering that our practice is never for just us. And then we're going to talk about this path of action. And these are three essential principles that we bring to the action. The first is, may we take actions that cause least harm. May we then take actions that contribute, that are a benefit. May we then act, think, speak, interact, relate in ways that are good for me and good for you. Good for those I love and good for those you love. Good for those we don't like, good for those we'd rather not see, good for those who just piss us off. That it's good for all beings. That's one of the litmus for these wise, skillful, right actions. They become noble by these three conditions. They have already become noble by the first. May I cause least harm. May we offer this practice and its benefits to all beings everywhere without exception, omitting none. Awakening us, offering us refuge, and freeing us all. And if we applied those three principles to just our sitting posture, that we could sit in a way that would invite least harm, not just in a way that is pleasant or in a way that is unpleasant, but in a way that actually allows us to cultivate and sustain our mindfulness. How would you sit? And then if we offered the second principle, that we sit and be present in a way that actually contributes, that is a benefit, how would you sit? And if you then sat in a way that was not only of benefit to you, but of benefit to all beings. How would you sit? And then from how would you sit? How would you breathe? You would bring that pristine, committed, very motivated intention to each breath. Doesn't mean we're on each breath. This isn't about concentration. This is about motivation, inspiration, intention. How? And then we commit ourselves fully. We commit ourselves to each breath. And we see if we can't take that view that Mary Oliver had of those two deer standing like sisters in the long grass. We're connected, we're present. We make it real, not some distant view. Right up close, where we can not only see the fur, but it stays in the mind and the heart. Each breath, can we take a view by inviting direct experience right up close. And let the breath be natural, unaltered. It is good enough already. You are good enough already. And so we can relax, we can settle back a little bit. Actually open and soften the body so that each breath is a knowing. And we begin simply knowing the in breath is the in breath and the out breath is the out breath. We make contact and then we move closer. Remembering that each breath is its own. It is not the one before. It is not the one after. Can you be fully present just here? And as we begin to settle, we begin to see clearly the irrepeatable miracle of this one breath. There would be nowhere else to go, nothing else to be but connected, breathing. This is the view. We let go of all the conditions, for how we thought life should be so that we could show up, and we just show up. Already perfect right here. And just like those two sister deer on the hill, we begin to see their true nature, and it embeds and brands itself in our being. The wisdom is right here. Nothing to remember, it's already known. There's nothing to figure out, nothing to solve, nothing to resist. There is no struggle here. The first wise actions are stillness and silence. And we see the way the breath creates and invites both. And there's only this one breath. Everything else is storyline. And in this one breath, we can realize those intentions. To cause least harm. To act in a way that is a benefit. To do so for all beings. Let your first action be this: establishing stillness and silence, no longer moved by the 8 worldly winds. We will see clearly the Dharma, the way, just this one breath. Rather than think about life, we have joined it. Like fledglings on the precipice, we are called to the next moment. As we arrive, come to me, be here. And so then we dissolve the barriers. We offer our attention and our awareness a little bit more. And as we join again and again and again the present moment, as we rest and sit and attend in stillness and silence, the vast open space, there is no way to take an action against you or life or others. They are not separate. The only actions are opening and joining, including, embracing, allowing, receiving, exchanging. This is life. And a little bit at a time, we just hold ourselves off, away from life, a little bit less. We breathe in, we get present, we stay just a little bit more. The answers were always right here. They were never out there. And then we realize it's not only in the breath, it's in everything. The truth is revealed wherever we place our attention and where awareness then shines. It's everywhere. And we begin to see the consistencies. We begin to make contact with the truth wherever the eyes, wherever the body, wherever the breath lands. And when we see clearly that the thoughts are not us, not me, not mine, the fear is not me, fear is fear. We can actually take skillful, kind, wise, loving action with it all. We don't have to get rid of the thought. We don't have to exorcise ourselves. We simply know thought is thought and fear is fear. Anger is anger. And we smile. No longer caught, no longer identified. And then only kindness, only love, only compassion and the embrace are options. That all contribution, all goodness comes from this presence. And then we realize there's less to do and more to be. And then we commit ourselves again just a little bit more as we remember. And in that very being, causing least harm. Being a contribution to the good. For all beings. Taking a moment to unfurl, opening the body a little. Any offerings around that practice? The basic, essential, fundamental, ground of emptiness, ground of shamatha practice.
Good morning. This is Ryan.
Hi, good morning, Ryan.
I just wanted to thank you. Wow, that was powerful. Some much needed healing, and I really liked what you had mentioned about less to do and more to be. It's kind of an aspiration, being that my wife is pregnant, and I have an intention to be more patient in my life, not just with her and baby girl, but also with all beings. So thank you so much for that powerful medicine and healing, and taking that into my interactions with other beings in today. And that aspiration, I felt like something kind of clicked and locked deep inside of me, the way you were guiding us in. And wow, thank you so much. That was very powerful, and I will try to exercise that out in the world,
Yes.
and with my family and loved ones.
Yes. Start with a few, basic breaths before the doing. Create a little space before the doing, a little room, a little connection to oneself. Look at all that happens right there with that breath. And then see the way. And as was evidenced for me this week, just a couple breaths created a space for all that was right to happen, all that was good to happen without me having to get in the way with a plan and with belief thoughts about how it should go and what's supposed to come, and how if I don't write that email, then it's never going to happen the way that is most right, and real opportunity to see, really being there, holding the aspiration, as you say, Ryan, remembering it, calling it to mind several times a day in the space of the breath and of non-doing is in fact going to be more skillful, is going to equal larger, better, greater, more wholesome result. So thank you for that as well. I see a couple of you on. Other things people wanted to share? Then what I think I'll do for a minute is let's just take a look then at some notes that I took around this, rather than thinking about life, living it. Yeah, well, there's a concept, right? There you go. Yeah, it all resonates, isn't it? Yes. We've already got some new babies in the Sangha, Lisa's daughter, I think quite suddenly.
Very suddenly.
Most beautifully. Thank you for still being here, Lisa. I'm so glad you're here, really, because really, all these plans that were made, all of these ideas about when right timing and right. And here we get to see Liz on one day, and then the next day, I think before most of us were getting up, there was a baby on the way.
In all ways. Yeah, baby on the way. baby that went from you're having the baby today instead of 5 weeks from now. And then you went from baby, you're having the baby today, to you're having a C-section in 30 minutes. And while when you talk about life was making other plans, while we were trying to decide which plane to get on, she had the baby. So it really has been, this was perfect meditation for letting go of what to do next and just being right here, especially with a tiny little baby who's not following the baby book, and really resisting the urge to sometimes in the moment be a little panicky because it's a tiny baby, and really breathing into paying attention to the baby. And that seems to work much better than the baby books, Ryan. I'll just to give you a heads up.
Yeah. Little tip there, Ryan.
But it really is. It's been wonderful to look at each other. My daughter and myself look at each other, and we both at the same time say, take a breath. And how, so not suddenly, but often the next step appears. And again, it wouldn't necessarily be the one in the baby book.
That's right. I think we could almost say there's some guarantee that it won't be the static one in the baby book, even when it looks like it's going to plan. That's just for a moment. That's just for a moment. So yes, we're so, I feel so grateful that everyone is well, that the baby is well, that you're there, that Liz has both her mother and her daughter with her. What a beautiful privilege that is. And right, unplanned, not according to plan is, I think, what we could say. And what I know about that, by the way, is that, well, it might even be according to plan. It just wasn't what we were thinking.
Exactly.
I'm going to say it just wasn't what I had in mind. It wasn't the way I wanted it to go. It wasn't right. And this is consistent, by the way, with the teachings that say everything in its right order. Everything in its right order. Can you see the truth of this? Now that's tricky, isn't it? Without stability, without stillness, without spaciousness, without presence, we can't. We're just in resistance. We're just in the struggle. We're just in the fear. We're just in the, but I've got to make the plan. I've got to follow the code. I've got to, and my husband, by the way, who was a very expert, really, programmer, he programmed two things that didn't really talk to each other very well. He was an interface programmer. So he'd take something that didn't have any relationship to something else, and he would write unifying code. And there would be a lot of times where I remember everyone would say, there's no way for this to happen because, well, this is this, and it's totally separate. It's not the same format. It's written in blank, and this is this, and and really they're not going to do it. And what he loved and still loves in some interesting way is making manifest the things that we have all believed by our limited believed thoughts were not possible. Right? How amazing that we can each in our way bring that to each moment. This no, goodness is possible here. Patience is possible here. Love is possible here. Showing up is possible here, right in the middle of being certain, no chance, no way, no possibility. And it is never true. It is never true. Can we open that much? What is the goodness here? What are the possibilities here? And if we're just thinking about it, what I know is it will not manifest because that's not where it comes from. It comes from a whole other place. I want to look at these notes because I think there's some things about awakening we may want to know. Here's one of them. I can't find my notes now, so I'll wing it for a second. what the teaching said, the Buddhist teaching said, there is a few ways to pay attention to intention. And that, remember, intention is the beginning of all good things being manifest. That it has to begin with this stillness, silence, and presence. And then the genuine desire for goodness to arise, that you have to begin there to see the way. Well, we get that. My husband started, the reason he was so good at it is he started with, there is a way. I don't have a clue today. I don't see the way today. I don't know how I'm going to do this today, but I believe there is a way. And what was truly amazing about him, and he would say this as well, is that he often came up with the solution when he was asleep. He would go to bed going, I don't know, and wake up in the middle of the night to write down the code that was going to bind these things. Now that's interesting, because whatever else was happening there, it was not that task-centered, focused mind. It was bigger. It was bigger. And every time he brought that mind, the one that goes, well, this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, he couldn't get out of the box. He couldn't get out of his own way. Can we? Can we? And so with that space, stillness, and the wish to cause least harm, and the wish to contribute something, that this is sufficient, says the teachings. And it goes further, by the way. It says there's 4 possibilities here. You start with a great intention and you realize the goodness. That's one way, just one. You start with the goodness and you don't see the way. And actually there's some damage, there's some harm. But then we get there, we reset the intention. And in fact, we can continue to invite the good. So even when you go, oh, I kind of was hoping that with the right intention, this action, this clear seeing would equal, whoops. And so we get back, we go, whoops, wait a minute. That's actually usually a lack of skillfulness. Right intention, but not sufficient skill yet. Not sufficient skill, right? And so I'll give you an example of that. I am working with someone who says, I really do want to be well. I believe this completely. I believe this. There's not a question in my mind about the genuineness of that intention. But I am actually going to isolate, withdraw, avoid others, not be with people who care about me. Oops. And guess what the result is? It's not working, is it? And not because there's not lesson in it, but it's like, whoops, wait a minute. I believe the intention, except you're not living that. That's not in alignment. And so we're not going to get to healing. We're not going to get to wholeness. We're not going to get to the goodness because there's a confusion. We have to back up. Yes, you wish to be well, and that will mean taking some other actions. And sometimes stillness, we have to sit, didn't we say, to see the way. Like, okay, it's not working this way. I'm not getting, is that because life sucks? No, actually it's possible. But we have to, so that's the other way. Then it says you can start with actually ill will. I love this possibility. You can start going, fuck them, I don't care. I don't have time for this. My life's already a mess. I can't even be thinking about it. And we arrive, and what happens? We see there. I just did this. I was going, oh, I don't know. I don't think I want to go to this lunch. I don't think so. I also got an invitation to a charity group. And Andy knows this well. I was going, oh man, another group. Do I have time and energy for that? I probably don't. I'm not committed. I just have to go to this one meeting for my friend. That's the reason I'll go. And I go, and what happens? I don't want to say I had good intention. I was just going to show up, check the box. I did it. I show up and I go, oh my gosh, these are really good people doing really good things. And what happens? I wake up like, wait a minute, this can't be a bad thing. And actually I generated some energy while I was there, and they were right? And I'm like, oh, look at all the amazing stuff that can be of benefit without without my fear of, too much effort and it's going to do the opposite. No, actually, it doesn't take too much at all. They're doing a lot of it, setting a lot of it up. Wow. Right. So and the Buddha says this, you can start with the wrong intention and actually keep waking up to go, oh, wait a minute. I see the path to a right action. I see the path right here. It's right here to right action. Because I stayed a little present, like, okay, I'll come to the one, and that's right. I didn't buy into the view. He also says there can be an ill action, ill intention, leading to an ill action that looks like it has negative result, but that may actually be necessary. We could say suffering is the greatest teacher. And so that it is not wrong, though it is painful. It is not wrong result, though it is painful, right? So you can start with the wrong intention. I'm going to just use something simple. I'm going to drink and drive. I'm going to drink and drive because, kind of, it's okay. And I don't care that much about me anyway. And, right, whatever happens, happens. So ill intent, I'm just going to drink and drive. And then we drink and drive. And then something in that effort, something happens. And in fact, one is harmed or another is harmed or both. And then we go, see, this is horrible. And it is. It's painful. It's right, wrong. And even this is an opportunity. And then we see all kinds of things happen as a result, like Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, right? That began a whole campaign that was so huge, right? That my children, as an example, as a direct result of that harm and the awakening to that harm and the awakening to the causes of that harm, would never drink and drive. Would never. It's not even in their possibility. It's not even in their realm. Because we, even in the difficulties, even with the suffering, even when something, right, we did not see clearly, we did not understand as completely as we need to. And this is the evolution of things. So even when we're going, this is tough, I don't see the way. Nobody, by the way, we'll use Lisa and her daughter. Nobody was going, let's have a baby 5 weeks early. What fun that will be. Right? That's not what the plan was. But can we see the Dharma in it all? Can we see the Dharma in it all? And it says, yes, you can, with sufficient stillness, with sufficient silence, with sufficient spaciousness, and the intention to see clearly, and the intention to cause least harm, and the intention to make a contribution from that clear seeing, not only for oneself and one's own interest, but really the right action all around. Can we do that? And the answer is yes, even in the difficulties, right? And that this is the action that we're looking for. We're looking not just for behavior change, because people do all kinds of things, often briefly, sometimes more, like, we could use New Year's resolutions, right? I'm intentioning this. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to, do X, Y. I'm going to be kinder and more everything. And then without present moment, skillful seeing, appropriate action, and meditation as one of those actions, we cannot get to then what do I do? How do I live every day, moment, breath? Right. So that is one of the teachings I wanted to share, because we all have these believed thoughts, and it's so mistaken that if we're getting it right, it's easy or good or pleasant is, I think, a big one, in a way that the teachings say, no, it doesn't come like that. Sometimes with all the right action first, you get a difficulty. It doesn't mean it's not the way. It's going to make an invitation, however, to be present, to be still, till you can see more clearly. And so I want us to be watchful of these habits, because we go, well, if I'm getting it right, it should feel good. If I'm getting it right, it should feel right. Well, I didn't even start that way last week, right? I went, I don't know if this is right. It's probably not right, but I want to do a good thing. So I'm going to at least show up, which felt like workable with reflection. And in fact, ultimately a right thing can arise. I see some people on. I'm going to guess there's some offerings. I'd love to hear from you, anyone, before we get ready to sign off. And while you're talking, I'm going to look for the notes just to make sure that there wasn't something else that I thought was important to say. Anthony, I see you there. Is there anything you wanted to chime in?
Not necessarily. I was just taking myself off of anonymous mode just to be another presence in the Zoom room.
Thank
But
you. Well,
yeah.
that's beautiful by itself. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a really powerful meditation today, and just such a poignant reminder of there was a point at which you brought to our attention the fact that while tapping into the presence of breath and really dropping into that space of no past, no future, which I love. I mean, whenever that grace is bestowed upon me, it's really fantastic and really feels like possibilities are infinite. But the reminder that you said, yeah, it's around us at all times. And there was a morning dove cooing, and I heard it in her, and there was a chainsaw in the distance, and I heard it in that, and there was just, yeah, the boundless present moment. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Mm-hmm.
You're so welcome. Boundless it is. And remember, I said I was going to say a little thank you, Anthony, for saying what you're saying, because you're reminding me about the synchronicity we can feel in it. And again, I don't want you to mistake that for pleasant, but there's a synchronicity. Like, yes, this is it. I, even in the meeting that I was in, that I was like, I don't think I really want to go, and I don't. I could feel a bigger truth in it. By the way, a little bigger truth, like, even though I don't like meetings, by the way, and I don't like agendas particularly, I could feel the goodness in it and its benefit. And it's like, well, couldn't then agendas and meetings be good, even if you don't like them? And the answer is yes. That's one of the synchronicities. The second synchronicity, and this came out of a conversation I had where we were talking about these supramundane powers. Supramundane means not just related to A equals B equals C, that things happen in an order where you go, wow, there this was, and then this thing happened. And that happened for me several times this week. So I'm going to share one, and then we'll do our dedication. I have been thinking a lot about a person I have not had recent contact with, a lot. And not only thinking a lot about them, I've been thinking a lot about how I want to make contact with them. And I've been thinking about it because I want to do it in a way that is most loving, that is most representative. Although I didn't have to think so hard, by the way, and I can only see that now. But I was really wanting to be careful and somewhat cautious, and really did a little more machinating in it, I think, than probably now I realize I needed to do. And I had a dream about the person. And in the dream, we were together in a way that we had been and have been. And it was very loving and lovely. And I thought, okay, today I'm writing this letter. And guess what happened? She wrote me that letter. She wrote me that letter. The letter that would have said exactly what I was going to say. I miss you. I love you. I want to see you. That letter, right? And I went, bing. Now, I don't think that's accidental. I, in fact, know it is not. I know that my intention set a fertile soil. The person didn't know, they hadn't heard. I absolutely am certain about that as well. And yet, in the stillness and silence, there is a knowing. And the knowing is bigger than just what I can see, hear, right, in this plane, in this reality, this supramundane capacity, then, right? And there it was. That's one of them. And then there was a second one. And I was looking at this amazing sky. I don't know if you saw that sky yesterday. Every sky is amazing, right? Every sky that we capture in presence is amazing. And I'm looking at the sky and I'm going, I just have the thought. I'm looking at the sky that all those I have ever loved are also looking at or in some way. And I get a little teary at that thought. Like, this is the sky, the one that's holding us all, the one that's boundless, like the boundless awakened heart mind. And somebody writes me right then, I don't know why, haven't talked to this person in forever, and says, this is funny, but I was just looking at the sky and you came to mind and this song came to mind. And the song was Somewhere Out There. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but it was by Linda Ronstadt, right? And what it says is that we're all being held by it. We're all being in it, right? We're all, right? This magnificent sky and the fact that we're all in it. We're all connected. And I send her by accident, she hadn't written it yet, a picture of the sky. And she sends me at the same time that song. Right? Synchronicity. When we're truly in the Dharma, this is what I notice, that all actions, I see their interconnection, I see their rightness, whether I like them or I don't like them, right? And I see their place in the family of it all, and then live, right? More in connection, right? I feel like I can even risk this more than I might have otherwise, right? I can show up a little more because the goodness of it and its benefit is so gigantic. It's so beyond my own imagination that it is a worthy investment and worth the risk, as we've been talking about exquisite risk, of oneself. That's showing up completely of oneself. And so I will encourage you to know the intention, call them out, rest in them, and then find the infinite ways in the whole of a day, the whole of a moment, the whole of a breath, in which they can be realized. Because there's only one thing in their way, right? Only one thing. And that's some kind of disconnect from the reality. And so we're almost at time. Why don't we take a moment and sit together? And so we drop the barrier, we drop the weapons, we drop into the breath, and then we even drop the breath, don't we? We won't even hang on to that, so that we can truly arrive to what the morning dove, the chainsaw, the blower, the plumbing, noises of children and others, knowing we are exactly here, opening completely. And we let it all inform us as we, remember Rilke, as we inform it. As Rilke says, oh God, who would you be without me holding you in this heart mind? This complete exchange, interconnection, requiring that we empty ourselves of the ideas of the self over and over and over. Calling to mind our intentions, calling to mind those for whom we practice, sending out that metta, that karuna, that genuine care, that friendship, sending it to everything. May we dedicate this practice then may we all have happiness and the causes for happiness. May we all be free from suffering, from distress, from pain, from harm, and the causes of those afflictions. May we see them clearly. May we take joy, be glad, have delight at the truth of this present moment and its infinite blessings. May we remember we are not separate from this life in any cause or any action that occurs. And we alone are part of that whole and can influence. May we take time throughout the day to drop into presence and then act, think, and speak from it. May we all be well. And may this practice contribute. And so the short course is this. There is no right action without presence. And so if you are in thinking mind, hesitate. In fact, the language is renounce. Renounce. Don't take action from the scurrying, busied, rushed mind, because what we can guarantee from there is actually suffering. Don't act, speak, or think from there. Settle back into presence. And then whatever you do will be a contribution to the good. Can we trust it? Let's see. Let's practice this week on the cushion and off and see if this turns out to be true. I think you might notice what I did, that it is. It's good, as always, to see all of you. Thank you. Blessings to each of you for your practice, for being here with me and the Sangha. I hope that you will make time, create energy, space for coming out to Quest Haven if that can work for you on Friday or Saturday. Even if you can't come for the whole day, come for part of the day. There's a 9 to noon option and then a 1 to 4:30 option. Please join us for any of that. I will not be Zooming because it's too difficult from there. I'd rather see you in person anyway. So please, if you can, join. Tuesday, we will be looking at chapter 6. How wonderful. Look forward to that with all of you. Thursday, Greg at 7, please join. I will not be doing next Saturday, consequently, because I'll be up at Quest Haven, but we will make sure that someone is here to make this Sangha offering. All right, everyone, be well. Love to you all. I think I see Inez. Hi there. Be well, everyone.